My name's Adrian Moore. I work with a group called Phoenix Arts Group. And we're going to sort of run through a few talks here about people's experiences with Phoenix Arts Group from different perspectives. I'm going to start the talk off by talking about mental well-being, work and employability. The way in which Phoenix works within the community helps it to create a little microeconomic climate. And I'd like to sort of talk about that and sort of get you all fired up in the same sort of way that I am. After everybody's talked, there will be some time for questions, and I welcome as many questions as possible for whatever subject, and we'll try and answer them honestly. Right. The purpose of my talk is sort of engaging with a different viewpoint to strengthening the economic structure within community development by using mental health strategies of well-being to create a community enterprise. Phoenix Arts Group wants to become a creative enterprise so that it runs itself, gets support from funding bodies and people like that, but also gives something back to the community by doing commissions, maybe for community groups, or there's some old dears in Teesdale who want a mural painted. And if they use what public purse they have to do that project, we hope that Phoenix will use that money again, keeping itself alive as well. It's come to my attention recently that the government's drive to cut down on the amount of spending through disability living allowance is creating a negative effect with well-being of a lot of people. Not all people, but a lot. Those illnesses that cannot be seen make it all the more harder to make those decisions as to whether somebody should be on disability living allowance or not. And mental health is one of those illnesses that's not necessarily seen on the outside. And if people are pressured into going back into work, but are genuinely not ready for employment, that's going to have a domino effect on the broader economy when employers aren't geared up to support people with those types of illnesses. So there's going to be more people going off sick, and they're not going to have the staff there all the time doing 100% of the job that they do. I think Phoenix Arts Group, becoming a social enterprise, will create a space where we're in a position to judge that, to really be able to make decisions on whether people are ready for going back into employment, or if they're ready for taking on certain kinds of responsibilities in the workforce. I think the Phoenix Arts Group, being a social enterprise, can create a small business which allows people or gives them an avenue towards education and employability. The type of work that they do, which you can see behind me, is of a really good standard, and the exhibition downstairs, you can see, has something substance to it. And I think that it's worth money, and people could buy it, and we could survive on things like that. I think Phoenix Arts Group and other groups like them can support, train and personally develop individuals into education and employment. Whilst doing this, they can also monitor the genuine employability of the individual. But the cost of funding these projects is obviously quite a lot of money. If those members of Phoenix Arts Group were facilitated towards the execution of real community projects, there is a chance for them to develop this microeconomy where funding is supported by money that they're actually earning. And I think this year, Phoenix Arts have generated 1,700 and something odd pounds through sales of work and commissions. And this is really the first year that we've tried doing that. So next year, I'm sure Phoenix Arts could be more engaged with the community and really make that little pot of money that we do get in the community work very well for us. I do think that using this pot of money in this way, the public purse, getting to use it twice, has real value. And I think that if people could support Phoenix in helping them to achieve this goal, that would be good. We could carry on. We could do some more good stuff, which is obviously adding value to our area and the people in it. And we all feel good. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. My name is Mark Hodgson. I've been active in Phoenix Arts now for almost a year. Sort of previous to this, I was involved in higher education, teaching and research. And I was kind of looking for an outlet in which to do some more kind of hands-on work. And I've been a musician myself, and I had, once upon a time, I did go to art college, but I didn't quite follow it as a means of earning a living. Apart from the odd painting of t-shirts, mostly bad t-shirts for people. Like the whole idea of getting involved in a community arts group, and this was really kind of a way for me to become involved in a group that I thought that was worth it, that could be sustainable within a community. So in doing that, I found that when I first started, what I used to do was bring instruments along and do a little bit of kind of therapeutic music with what were occupational therapy clients that used to be there. They left, but subsequently I decided to stay and get a bit more involved with the visual art. Bit of sketching here and there, and a bit of painting. Kind of really just stuck around there really as a support. So in doing so, I've become kind of like a bona fide member of the group. I enjoy going. It's good for my well-being. In fact, if I don't go, it's really bad for my well-being. So in terms of involvement and getting to know people and being involved with people, I find this a really good thing. So both personally and professionally as well. Since being involved with Phoenix Arts, then currently being commissioned to do a bit of research, evaluating projects. Now, before I go into that, Phoenix Arts is a group of people with many different talents, and of course many different personalities as well, contributing to this whole idea of creating good quality artwork that's, I think, I know that is going to be able to bring some money in, sustain some kind of living, some really talented people in this group. They produce things like clothes, textiles, paintings. Got paintings commissioned in a local area in Stockton. What's it called again?
Ware Street's got a permanent exhibition space of limited work which can be rotated every now and again.
So it's the frames stay there permanently, but the pictures that go in the frames can be changed. And if people want to buy them, then leaves an empty space again, in which can be replaced by another picture. But of course, there's the therapeutic value of the images as well in Maestros. Moving on to the research that I've been commissioned with. The group, including myself, went to a residency which was in Stainsacre, which is a little place just a couple of miles south of Whitby. And this was a bit of a mixed bag weekend. It was a bit of social business enterprise training mixed with some art-based workshops. And it's kind of letting people know what it was like to run a business and getting rid of that fear of what people might think, from their own experiences, people that they know that might have run a business who failed, and in showing people that with some basic skills and knowledge you could get rid of that fear and see that it was actually practically possible that you could make a living out of your own talents, but also be in a position to be able to look for funding, external funding, rather than using some kind of go-between. So what I actually looked at was, when I was there, I was kind of seeing how it affected the group as a whole, group's identity. It's important for people in the group to kind of define what role they have, or what role they foresee themselves in playing in, say, forming their own cooperative business. So, who's going to be comfortable about handling the real hardcore business side of things? Who's going to be more comfortable with handling the more creative side of things? After doing kind of several follow-up interviews in this, the general vibe was that people were very excited about it. A little bit scared, but mostly positive. People's identity, I would say, changed as a result of getting this kind of business training. Only, to the point where I feel that it made them stronger, or it made them question the strength of the group. People on the whole were very solid, and because they'd been together as a group, really trusted each other, felt confident enough to turn what was a creative community art group into a social enterprise. So I'd say, on the whole, the results are pretty positive, and people are really keen in which to do this. And it's because it gives them a solid role in what they want to do, in what we want to do. So it can only increase well-being within this, which is really the most important thing, as well as the business. Also, Dawn's going to be talking a bit more about this, but Phoenix Tees Valley Arts in partnership with the Arise project, which is teaching research skills to service users, people who are within the community, who perhaps may suffer or have mental health needs, should be able to evaluate and research their own projects rather than outsiders, because at least then it's more of an equal footing, and it's more socially inclusive with the people in the community evaluating their own work. So I've really kind of just been advising and in a more kind of consultory role in teaching research to the Arise group, which is being led by Jackie Lavelle. I think that's about it really. I don't really want to go into any more detail about that because Dawn's going to be talking about it. But that's my experience with Phoenix so far in terms of social enterprise and creativity. Thank you.
Hi there everyone, my name's Andrew Woodcock and I work as a volunteer with the Phoenix Arts Group. I'm also a carer for my brother, John, mental health issues. And I'm here today to give you a little personal insight into the impact the Phoenix Arts Group has had on my life, both personally and professionally as an artist. I'd like to start by giving you a little bit of background into where I came from before I started the group, before I started to go to the group, sorry. In 2000, I graduated from Leeds University with a fine art degree and came back to Stockton with the hope of getting a job, paying off some university debts, the usual things. I found that when I came back to my parental home, who I shared with my mum and my brother, that my brother's mental health had deteriorated quite a lot. And he had become very isolated from the family and from his friends and from any kind of social interaction, really, which had tragic consequences. In the middle of 2001, my brother tried to commit suicide. So it's a bit of a tough thing to talk about, a strange environment to talk about it, so please bear with me. Tried to commit suicide. Thankfully, he wasn't successful and was admitted to the mental health unit at North East Hospital. As a result of this, my mum also became ill and was admitted to the female side of the mental health unit at North East Hospital. So there I was from a year before being in a career, quite driven and financially secure and emotionally kind of pretty stable, to being in a place that I was not ready to be in, I guess. I took up the role as a carer for my mum and my brother. And in so doing that job, I kind of had quite a detrimental effect on my life personally. As I said, I had to give up work to be a full-time carer. I also had to give up a lot of social engagements because there was fear of relapse at home between my mum and my brother, so I'd have to be around to make sure they were kind of on an even keel, so to speak. So I gave up a lot of relationships and friendships. It was a fairly tough time for a long time, but the story does have a happy ending, and I'm getting to it. Early this year, in March this year, I came across an article in the Evening Gazette, our local paper, written by Adrian Moore, the coordinator of the group, briefly asking for any volunteers to come and join the group who had an art background. And I saw the advert and thought that it was a good opportunity for myself to do something for myself in my own life instead of being a carer and being kind of guided by other people's circumstances in so much as my mum and my brother's caring needs. So it was a Wednesday morning 6 months ago. I trundled into the art room, fairly dejected with life, fairly unfocused with my career and my life in general, and feeling fairly isolated as well as a carer. As I said, it was a lot of social exclusion being a carer and isolation in that. So I was feeling a little low and a little lost. And then from 3 months down the line, 3 months into my volunteering at the art group, I was finding myself running art workshops myself for the group, actually being in a position of leadership, and obviously a lot more happier with the way life was progressing for me. So I'd just like to talk about the three main benefits that I found personally in regards to the Phoenix Arts Group. Firstly, which I've just touched upon, the professional and the career-enhancing aspect of joining the group. I've planned to be a teacher in art for a long time since I left university, and unfortunately didn't have the opportunities to practice being a teacher and to have the support of putting on being a teacher in that type of role. Now, the Phoenix Arts Group, as soon as I walked in there, explained to Adrian that I had a background in the arts. Adrian almost immediately started the ball rolling in terms of me perhaps leading a workshop and using some of the knowledge that I'd gained through education to help others and forward other people's education. So immediately that had an effect on my life, a very positive kind of boosting my self-esteem, and really was a fantastic opportunity given to me by the group to be able to practice a teaching role, which I don't know if anyone's ever tried to get into teaching. If you go through an adult education course at a university, they always ask, have you got any practical teaching experience? And of course, you're doing training to get, the background to do that practical experience. So it's a bit of a catch-22 situation sometimes. Now the Phoenix Group offered me that opportunity to get that teaching experience. Secondly, the Phoenix Group gave me the space to practice my own art, to be to kind of journey through my own artistic practice. I mean, it sounds quite a basic need to have a studio. If you're an artist, you need somewhere to paint. As I said, I was living back at home, and it really wasn't the right type of environment for me to practice my painting skills, and therefore I was a bit rusty. Now, the Phoenix Group is open, it's a studio environment, it has sinks, it has paints, it has sunlight, which is always good if you can painting. So it allowed me to further my own artistic practice, and therefore, be better equipped to further other people's artistic practice in terms of teaching them. It also, not practical, as well as practical skills, it gave me the opportunity to work with people like Adrian, who are a little bit more experienced in the roles of teaching others, and also find skills in marketing my work. I've been putting on exhibitions for the group, and obviously that's fantastic for me as an artist and a professional in that field. The third, and a real vital benefit the group has offered me, is a real connection to the community and to Stockton, where I live. As I said, as a carer, it's quite an isolating feeling sometimes, and you can be caught in a kind of bubble of caring for someone and not really getting a lot of outside input. Being part of the Phoenix Group meant that I was working with people who had suffered mental illness or had been through tough times, and I recognised in them certain things that I was feeling myself, and therefore I was able to be in a supportive people like myself can gain both personally and professionally. And I really hope that it's supported in the future with its natural growth to provide the same type of support and opportunities it's given me. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dawn Owen. I'm a service user, but I'm also a researcher with the Arise Project. Now, I've called my talk My Journey with the Arise Project, and you'll find out why. Arise means Accessible Research Involvement for Service Evaluation, and I started the project in January this year. The project is service user and carer-led. There are 6 of us in the group, and we all have a say in any decisions that have to be made. The philosophy is underpinned by the work of Ignacio Martin Barrow, who was a priest and social psychologist. He talked about the need for a new praxis in psychology, one that comes from the bottom up. He said that if our aim is to serve the liberation needs of the people, we need to ally ourselves with poor and oppressed groups in their struggle for justice and dignity. He also said we need to develop a progressive psychology that helps people find the road in their personal and collective fulfillment. The concern of the social scientist should not be too much to explain the world as to change it. The educationist elements of the project are based upon the work of Paulo Freire, a Brazilian educationalist. He sees the development of self where a person reflects upon their internal and external experience. raising their awareness of the forces that lead to their disempowerment and oppression. One of the aims of the Arise project is to facilitate people in thinking and reflecting critically on their internal and external world. We start with a person's lived experience and build from there, focusing on strengths and using their life experience to guide them in the direction of the research project. We have been doing about self-awareness and assertiveness through the TA, transactional analysis therapy. We are set tasks and exercises to do. We talk as a group or individually to our tutor Jackie. This has helped me get in touch with my inner feelings and emotions, and I'm slowly getting my confidence and self-esteem back. We were asked to choose what we wanted to research based on a personal or lived experience. I chose compulsory care. This is when a person is sectioned under the Mental Health Act and from a human rights perspective. This is because I was sectioned 2 years ago and was diagnosed of having bipolar, a severe mental health problem. My participants in the research will come from different backgrounds, including some mental health professionals, but I will focus upon the service user experience throughout. Before I interview a service user, I will explain to them that I've been sectioned myself, so they don't feel intimidated by me during the interview and they feel comfortable at all times. I will be using semi-structured interviews and I will listen to them with empathy and understanding. I know that each service user will have a different story about their compulsory care experience. Being service users, they will be offered extra support during the research process, and the interviews will be taped and then analysed. Also, to collect information, I'll be sending out 20 questionnaires to junior doctors who are section patients under the Mental Health Act. Before you can start your research, you have to have ethical approval. The Ethics Committee is there to protect you and the participant. A peer review group is set up to oversee your research. You have to do a one-day mandatory training session, which includes health and safety and the Data Protection Act, as confidentiality has to be maintained at all times. You have to go through a CRB check, which is a Criminal Records Bureau, to make sure you don't have a criminal record because of contact with service members from vulnerable groups. You go through an occupational health check and then you receive an honorary contract from the TNI, Tees and North East Yorkshire NHS Trust. As a service user, I will develop an awareness of my role and responsibility as a researcher in relation to myself, the participants and the trust. The participants will have to sign a consent form and they will be given an information leaflet that will explain that they can withdraw from the research at any time and the data will be destroyed immediately. When the research is finished, the participants will be given a copy of the report to feedback any comments. This means that they can be included in the final report and this adds to the validity of the findings. As a group, we will be evaluating the Phoenix Arts project, Tees Valley Arts, and we will be researching the service users that use the group to see how their artwork is helping them in their recovery and everyday life. When we first spoke to the group, the service users were telling us that they either had previous experience in artwork or they were artistic before they had a mental health problem. A way of collecting data is by observing the group and noting down what the service users are feeling and how they transfer their emotions onto paper or into whatever they are creating at the time. I feel like doing artwork is an expression of the artist's emotions. Therefore, I feel the research should be carried out with compassion and understanding. The research questions are only a guideline, and the service user will tell us about their experience in the narrative method. This means telling the story, using their artwork to express how they're feeling at the time of the interview. This will be done on a one-to-one basis. The service users will also receive a questionnaire, and this will be measured on a scale from 0 to 5. This will show what the service member was like when they joined the group to where they are now and how they have developed as an artist. The research aims to promote the personal and social development of the service user with mental health needs. Furthermore, the research will assess the impact of the servicemen users' involvement of the Phoenix Arts Project on their present and their future potential as artists as well as people. As the role of the lead artist in promoting wellbeing will be examined in terms of his gains as well as a participant in the group. In addition, social inclusion will be addressed by the group. I would recommend the Arise project to any service member or carer because it is a good experience and it makes you feel worthy again. And the Arise project is a start of a great journey from me. Thank you.
So, from those stories you can see that Phoenix Arts Group isn't just a service user, let's sit at the table and draw some pictures group. It's something that can be really active and part of a merging community, a community that's knitting itself back together from lots of different angles. It's open up to questions on that if you've got any queries. Questions?
Do you cover the whole area, the whole Middlesbrough, Stockton, Redcar, Cleveland area?
Hang on, I think we are working. We've got 2 mics that are, so I'm going to embarrass you by giving you the mic.
Could you just tell us a little bit about whether you cover the whole area and how we refer service users to the service and all those
yeah.
aspects of life?
Phoenix Arts is open to anybody in the Tees Valley. Travel and geography may get in the way of that for some people. But what we're trying to do is develop the project on a bigger, larger scale with its own space. At the moment we're renting a space in St Mary's Centre, so we're restricted by other groups using the space for their project. And that hopefully will be geographically placed on the bus route 36, 37, 38, which runs through from Hartlepool, yeah, Hartlepool, Birmingham, right the way through to Middlesbrough, but it also covers both hospitals. It covers James Cook Hospital and North Deeds. So hopefully that would be a good sort of helpful thing to have. A nice route.
I guess also that would be potentially open to people who were from Redcar. I guess in knowing that respect and their training, the easiest access. If access was a problem, but certainly it's not restricted to any particular kind of people or where they live.
No, it's really, it will only really work if the whole of the community is in it. Mental health is an issue, and it's something that, well, mental well-being is something that we could all do with. So if you're interested in art, you can come along.
How many are there in your group altogether?
At the moment, we're ticking over an average of 12 people, but we're only open 1 day a week. We have opened 1.5 days, but it's just opening for half a day. By the time we've got stuff out and packed away, it's just a social meeting. However, I mean, being a social meeting, it's good too. People like to come just have a laugh. Yeah.
Which day are you open?
Open on a Wednesday all day, from 9 o'clock till 3. I'm usually there about 10 to 9. It's at the St Mary's Centre. You go through the brown doors and you bear around to the right, press doorbell number 7, and somebody will speak to you.
That's in Stockton.
It's in Stockton, the St Mary's Centre in Stockton.
Apparently it's on the 38 bus route, isn't it?
It is, yeah. 37, 36, 38. Mike over there.
How do you market yourself?
Well, we have promotional leaflets that Tees Valley Arts have used to market us. there's the monthly newsletter, is it 3 monthly or monthly newsletter that Tees Valley Arts has used, which helps market. Every exhibition we have, we produce postcards and distribute those. We have a mailing list which targets people. We try and get press coverage as much as possible. Usually have to be doing something for press coverage. So usually when we have an exhibition or something's going to happen, we get press coverage. When we did the project in Whitby, which seems to have gone on, the very colourful sculptures that you saw in the images there, was a project we did in Whitby at Stainsacre. When we did that, we took that sculpture all around Whitby, setting it up and taking it down, which created a dialogue between us and the general public, which allowed us to disseminate ideas of mental well-being and mental health issues, as well as the group, and that got us good press coverage too.
And the sculpture as well.
Oh, we went to the...
I wasn't actually there, but on the second residency at Stainsacre and Whitby, the group made a sculpture designed partly by Andy and based on the drawings of Peter in the audience there in the background, where he likes to be. And it was kind of a manageable, colourful sculpture, which you can flat pack it and take it absolutely anywhere. And I think it got into, was it a local Whitby paper?
Whitby Gazette.
Whitby Gazette.
I think that's because we turned up outside their door and put it up. So basically, they couldn't ignore us.
There you go, there's a bit of anarchistic style marketing for you. And the sculpture's been all the way down to Las Vegas Festival, which is in Brighton as well. So it's been about a bit. So we're kind of inadvertently marketing ourselves in strange ways.
And when we do get inquiries from newspapers, I tend to just get on a bus and go there. Like yesterday, the Journal phoned me up from Newcastle, and instead of talking over the phone, I went up there, took images, and sold us.
I just want to talk about cinema. There's a documentary festival going on in Edinburgh, and several of the films are about mental health issues. One of the films is about two artists, and I've got a feeling that one of the artists' brothers was schizophrenia, and so it's about helping him make work. There's another film called Tarnation, which means tea. I actually saw it in this building. And it's about a young man growing up. His mother, for a variety of reasons, which all developed mental health problems. So there is a range of cinema, whether it's cinema that's on at the moment in Edinburgh, and this film called Tarnation. It's out on DVD from by Virgin. That will reflect the range of things that you're doing at the moment. It might be worth trying to get hold of those films to look at itself. Okay.
So you're from where?
Sorry?
Where's it available from?
Tarnation begins with T, A-R-N-A-T-I-O-N.
Yeah.
You can get it in Virgin on DVD.
Oh, it's actually...
Yeah. The Documentary Film Festival is on in Edinburgh. No, sorry. Glasgow, sorry. So, you know, if you go onto the website, say Documentary Film Festival, Glasgow, you can pick up all the information. If you get over to a free newspaper called Variant, they have all the information in that.
You know you commission work, Adrian. Can people commission you to do anything?
If we can't do it, we'll just say no, we can't do it. But yeah, anything. We put up an exhibition for Red Currant Cleveland Council. They did some work with 8 schools. Where they asked me to put the exhibition up, and I thought Phoenix could do it. So I gave the work to Phoenix. If I'd have done it, it would have took me twice as long. And we did a good job, and Phoenix has been recognised for that, and they got paid. It was £800 for that. We've got some old dears in Teesdale who want a mural painted on their fence. Great, they can do it. So, yeah.
It's worth knowing. It's worth knowing.
Yeah, we have the skills to well, you look at the flyer for the exhibition. We have the skills to deliver anything that the community needs, really. Business cards for you. We've done a series of Christmas cards last year and t-shirt printing, and we've made handbags and other things, cushions. Tees Valley Arts commissioned us to make 4 cushions for the office. Great. Hand printed, really nice.
I was thinking of bedroom walls.
Bedroom walls.
Bedroom walls.
You want us to make a bedroom wall?
No, paint a bedroom wall, as in paint, as in, you know, like you're always seeing like really interesting and abstract things that, you know, on the television, and like creative things, and it's not something I, as somebody who's completely and utterly unartistic, could ever expect to achieve. But I bet you lot could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We put it to the group, put your idea to the group and see what they come up with.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole range of talent there, and that talent's only increased by all the different projects that people get involved in. People learn new things. You know, we've had several artists in over the past year that have covered a whole different range of media.
And what we don't do with the artist is get the artist in and then give them a theme.
No.
Because in my own practice, I've done that for schools and community groups. And what happens is you don't get the opportunity to do your own work. And your own work is the work that you've really researched. Your own work is the work that you really believe in. Your own work is the bit that keeps you buzzing and ticking. So what we do is we get artists in to deliver what their practice is.
Okay.
And yeah, I think it's a really good thing for the group to experience the way in which artists work, where they develop it and how they live.
Any more questions?
Can I just have a comment, since I've got the microphone? I just want to say a huge thank you to the 4 people that have spoken this afternoon. I've just sat here listening, and I know a little bit about Phoenix Arts, but yeah, thank you.
Well, I hope that was interesting and gives you an idea of where we are. Pass it on. If anybody wants to come on the steering group, I'd be very welcome for them to be there. If they can, you know, sort of have an input, have ideas, or just want to see it grow, the opportunities there. We meet the second Wednesday every 2 months. So the next one will be in December. If you're interested in any of the project anyway, just give me a ring. Tees Valley Arts, it's 01642 264651. Sound like cards.
So is there an opportunity to get put on your mailing list?
Yes, if you ring that number.
No, I missed that one.
264651.
You've got all bits of paper that we've been giving out today, if not at the desk.
Okay.
Anything that looks like that, we have a number of approvals. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you.